does this work?
I couldn't get enough of you.
I'm so glad you're back. I was saying, I don't know. We people voted on our hair today. And so Hoda and I felt so weird because we never care that much. And then all of a sudden I had to take it out. But anyway, I'm so happy y'all are both here. And I want to hear more about this project. About this Audible podcast is like such a cool and interesting new form of creativity that I think, newish, I know podcasts are kind of the thing, but it's a new form of creativity that I think people are so interested in. So Zoey, tell me a little bit about, I think this was your baby, about how it came to be and what it was like to work with your mom and sister.
Yeah. Well, it's funny just to really quickly you're always talking about how interesting it is that it is new, this format, but it's also like going
radio.
back.
Radio, exactly.
Which is so interesting. My phone keeps going dark, but so if I go like this, that's because I'm touching.
I know. You know what? You have to put on some special mode, which I've realized from starting this book club, which is such a pain. Who knew? But whatever.
Podcast there, in a way it kind of came out of reading books on tape, and which has been great for so many people and so many authors, to have that format where people could be driving and still enjoy their books.
I wonder if also, because I wonder if that, because everything is so overstimulating now. Like, I know when I go to bed and I'm watching an hour of TikTok and I can't even imagine what that does to my brain. Like, thank God it's no longer developing and it's past that. It's over. I'm a lost cause now. I'm lucky I didn't have TikTok when I was.
Me, thank God.
I wonder if there's something about it's calming to just have that stimulation, and you can almost focus that much better because you're not I don't know. I don't
for us to act without having to get our hair and makeup done.
Yes.
It was fun to just use our imagination as voice actors. It was so fun.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't answer your question at all. I was just so at the beginning of the pandemic, we were sort of playing around with this idea, and I love working with my mom, and we were developing it, and it ended up, and Audible was like, oh, we would love to make that. And so we got a writer's room together, and my sister was one of the writers, and then we got to record it again at a time when I genuinely was unsure if I was ever going to get on a set again, how are we going to be on a set? And I was like, well, shoot, I don't know what I want to do if I can't act. I have no place to be. Back up. I was always like, when people were like, if acting didn't work out, what were you going to do? I was like, that was the thing. I didn't have, there was no other option. That's why I think it had to sort of work, because I was willing it to happen. But, and we got to work with these really awesome actors, but also so much more experienced in voice acting, like Giancarlo Esposito and Bradley Whitford, and amazing, and Bobby Moynihan and Judy Greer, and awesome actors who were much more versed in voice acting, which is a totally different type of acting.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. And Leah, you're so right. It's like, it's a newer form, but it does take you back to like the days when you would listen to radio, or what I was even thinking is, somebody reading to you before you go to bed. What type of relationship do you have with books? Were they a companion? Were they escape? Were they a necessity? What's your relationship with reading?
It's so interesting because I think I developed pretty early on like a love, and like I gravitated towards nonfiction, and I with also I prefer documentaries to movies, honestly. Like, I have a better attention span if I know that this is real, and I know that's funny given that my job is and I wonder if it's that. It's like,
it's research, really.
Yeah. So, books that have really inspired me, in recent years are like Sapiens and The Sixth Extinction, and which is like a book that talks about how Earth is possibly in the middle of like a modern man-made sixth extinction. Like, not and it sounds, whenever I say that I like nonfiction, the first thing people say is, oh, it's boring. You know, it's like the opposite to me of boring. It grabs my attention because I can root it in my own life. Like I really,
Yeah.
I can apply it to my own life. Like I read Dope Sick and I was like, this book is incredible. I mean, I love Returned. I love, I don't know, nonfiction.
Yeah. You're my husband's taste. He loved all those. Like, I'm like, that's my husband's nightstand. Leah, what about you?
I vary, but I understand what she's talking about, because a lot of times, like, I love science because for me, it actually does two things for me. It gives me more awe of the world and a spiritual, religious sense. Like, I just think that, my mom used to say God didn't have to create the world so beautifully. And I love science as it applies to my life and it applies to my work. Because when you study science, it's kind of helps you understand why people are like they are.
I know Sapiens was great at that. I mean, have you read?
Yeah. Sapiens was one that my husband, I am much more of a fiction reader, although I love memoirs too. And now because I have 3 little kids, I'm like, parent, like you want to raise joyful kids. I'm reading a lot of parenting books.
I did.
I'm sure you went through that phase. Did you read the parenting books, or you felt like you didn't?
No, I did. And weirdly, one of the books I loved the most was Dr. Spock.
Uh-oh. I lost you. Can I hear you now? There you are.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, good.
But I love the oldie but the goodie. I love Dr. Spock. I love what his kind of like common sense approach. One of the things he said was like, don't fight mad with your husband. He was like, don't be the silent type, because kids will know. It's better to see you have a little fight and then make up than to be just like.
The problem is I had a really confrontation. I have no problem.
Well, we read to our children a lot. Your dad was really good about it. They would memorize their books. I think that's how you became an actress.
I lied the first when I wanted to. I'm a younger sibling, so I just wanted to fit in. Still do, and I memorized Green Eggs and Ham.
You memorized?
I pretended to.
That's. I have a little girl who's in kindergarten, Poppy Hager, and she's like, Mila, I know how to read, and I'm like, it's the sweetest, because it's a form of acting and storytelling. She has her own words, but the fact that you went ahead and memorized shows that you were going to be an actress.
Yes. One of my earliest memories that I'm always like in therapy, I'm like, what does this mean? And they're like, but okay, we can keep talking about it. One of my earliest memories is driving down Ventura Boulevard and I'm in the back seat, and my sister and my dad's driving, my sister is car, and they pointed at a billboard and started laughing, and I couldn't read yet, and I panicked because I was like, I can't understand what they're laughing at because I can't read it, so I'm just gonna pretend to laugh too and pretend to read it, like as if I would fool them that I could read. So my like earliest, like, I just want to get it, I want to be in on it, was about.
There were so many great kids books. Even like the Shel Silverstein books.
Where the sidewalk ends. Do you remember how fun those poems were to read out loud?
It must be fun to experience books with your kids.
It is.
Isn't it fun? Okay, so my favorite, and I wonder, Leah, I'll ask you too, but my favorite experience was rereading Charlotte's Web. Because you just can't believe the beauty of the words. Like, we were weeping, and not just because of the character's loss, like that too was profound, but like the sentence structure. I mean, my husband, I was an English major, obviously I love to read, but my husband literally was like, wow, like both you and Mila, but there's something so profound about the message of that book and then experiencing it through your daughter's eyes. Like, Leah, was there a book like that you can remember reading to your kids that?
Well, you bring up like the great book. Yes, Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. You should reread it, or maybe wait. But there's something.
So holds up. It's so beautiful. I think you just hit the nail on the head. That book is so beautiful. And I didn't have that, pleasure of having I was the youngest of 5. So everyone up. So like, I didn't have that like reading to me kind of thing, but I remember like some of the stuff that I loved, I couldn't get them to, like The Lion, the Witch, and the
Oh
Wardrobe.
yeah.
Those books I loved so
Janice,
much.
you love she's much more, if I gravitate to nonfiction, she gravitates towards like you
I
like
love the Lord of the Rings. And
Yes.
love
Did
all
you read Harry Potter?
yeah, well,
well, they did love Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Harry Potter is great. Harry Potter's great.
obviously.
I just was directing Star Trek Picard, so that was like my lifelong dream because I loved Star Trek when I was really little.
But you love like fantasy stuff. I lose interest. I mean, I have no reading comprehension skills whatsoever when I'm sent scripts that have like a fantastical, like what element. I'm like, what's this about? Like, I can't. I again, like you retain and gravitate towards. I don't know. It's just not my
Thing.
Well, but her sister's a writer, Maddie, and she just wrote a fantasy script that's amazing. So you're going to have to concentrate on that.
I love that. And I also kind of love that there's probably a hint of her mom in there, like what books you gave to her as a child resonated enough.
Although speaking of fantasy, I did read this year. Have you read 1Q84 Murakami?
No, is it great?
It's crazy, but that's sort of like fantasy, religion, sex.
Yeah.
Like a crazy combination of a lot of things, but it's a different kind of fantasy element, but I did love that, and that's very fiction.
And was there a book in your like childhood or adolescence, probably more, that opened your eyes, to a world, like something that just transformed you, whether it was because you loved it so much or it taught you about something you weren't aware of? Was there something that was life-changing, one of those teenage books?
1984 was really crazy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an amazing book. And then recently I read The Alchemist for the first time.
I loved The Alchemist.
I don't know. I never read it, and I do read quite a bit, and it came at the exact timing. Really interesting, actually. A really sweet fan gave it to me in Brazil, a copy of it in Brazil when I was there for press for The Politician, and I had it on my bookshelf forever. And I was going out of town, and I grabbed it and put it in my bag, and I like remembered I had it when I was having like a full panic attack about my career and that. I just grabbed it, and it was like the exact thing that I needed to reset my ego and panic and mania. It was
I feel like that book, I read it when I was living in Latin America. It's the only book I've read in both English and Spanish. And it is because that, of course, was written in Spanish first. And I feel like that book, and there are some like this, like I feel like the same way about Charlotte's Web, that do find you at the right time.
Yeah.
I have not read that in so long.
Okay, well, you have to. Okay, so the pandemic was a time where things, talking about egos, it's like everything was slowed down. You were able to be more introspective about what you wanted. I mean, I think some were, if we were lucky enough. I wonder, when you did slow down, did you find time to read? Did you find there's this beautiful book by Margaret Wrinkle. I don't know if you know who she is. She writes for the New York Times, these cool op-eds, but she wrote a book that I'm looking at on my bookshelf across from me called Late Migrations. They're a collection of stories, and basically it's her reflection on, and Leah, you made me think about this, but of nature, of simple things, of the bird in her backyard in Tennessee. And so I wonder, because I felt this way for the first time in a long time. I laid with my girls and stared at a big moon, which was, I live in New York City, so we never had, it was like moving around and work and this, and we never had time for the simple moments, and we made time for it, and I don't want that to go away. So I wonder if during the pandemic you found time for books, if you found time for nature, how you grounded yourself.
I'm still figuring out.
I know. Weirdly, because my career is mostly I'm directing television right now, and I watch so little of it. So weirdly, not with books, but I watched a lot. I binge watched a lot of TV, which was unusual. I don't watch any, so it was good for me to do that. And I did read a lot of books, and I found what I found that was profound for me as an entertainer is that it's really important. At this time, I realized how important it was for people to get out of themselves and to walk a mile in another person's shoes and to just forget about their troubles. All these years being an entertainer, I didn't really realize that it actually is a really important thing. What we do. You know, even you guys, you know, on TV, like you're in our house and you make us feel better and comforted and like homey and take our mind off of things and make us remember that it's good to be friendly or whatever it is. Like it's important. So I really realized the importance of entertainment and books, which I should know, but I didn't really know until.
Well, it's like a good reassurance that you've chosen a life's work on something that, you know, matters. And to so many people.
It does. It's easy to forget when you're doing it. I'm sure for you too. Like everyone says, like, look at this nice person. Like, I'm so happy she's in my living room. And you know, it's easy to forget how important that is. It sounds dumb, but that's what I got from.
Yeah. Were you all together or no?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
A lot of
We were together.
No, I take care of my mother. My mother-in-law lives with us, so it was like every day trying to figure out, well, the fish is dry, you know. God, I need the dry fish. You know, it was all about cooking and reading.
Yeah. I reread like I told you, right, The Alchemist, and I reread The Four Agreements and The Artist's Way and The Power of Now. And those
I love The Artist Way.
Yeah, isn't it great?
The Artist's Way is I'm bad. Like if for anyone that's on here, if you've read The Artist's Way and you've like done it properly and like worked
the morning pages.
Yeah, like I get through 1 week of morning pages and then I'm like, and like the artist date and all, like I love it, but I have yet to actually accomplish the full course. I just I had to let go of the like
perfectionism.
Judgment of that. I'm like, it comes to me when I need it, and I use what I use, and that's great. But I really love that book. It's really, 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 it's a wonderful guide. There's just so much there's something for everybody in there. And yeah, I love that book.
There really is, and it's so funny because I read it when I was in Latin America too with my best friend. We were living there. She's a photographer. And I was like, but I'm not an artist. You know, like I felt kind of like an imposter, but that's the whole point. It's like, you don't, let's get rid of the imposter. Be what you want to be. And I recommend that book to so many people that are going through transitions or, I mean, that would have been a great pandemic accompaniment. I wish I had thought about it.
I have my grandmother who my mom's mom whose painting is behind me, but I can't show you because it's a naked lady.
Is it her painting a portrait of her, or was she an artist?
No, it's a naked lady. But she was an artist, and she was really just an awesome person and really big inspiration in my life. And she had a copy of The Artist's Way with all of her notes and all of her little doodles and all of her things, and I have it. So it's like one of my most prized possessions is her copy of The Artist's Way. I mean, I hope she would be okay with that. I know it's quite personal, but
she'd be okay.
Yeah.
That makes me want to weep because I do think there's something so revealing about that book, and to have somebody's copy. I don't know if you've ever read The History of Love, but I read it when I was 23. It's by I think Nicole Krauss. I hope I'm not somebody type in. We have some good readers here and make sure I got the right author. But I read it when I was young and I was staying with my mom, and I highlighted and underlined all my thoughts, and it's about love and, you know, general. And my mom read, then picked it up off my nightstand and read it, and just was so in awe of what what her daughter, who she loves, but also a 23-year-old would highlight about love. You know, she found it such fun to read that. And I'm sure, like Zoe and both of you, having your mom's and grandma's copy of The Artist's Way must be like the best gift.
Yeah, and and The Power of Now too. It's her, and I have all of her highlighted stuff too. And she was such an amazing artist and such a like unbelievably interesting spirit. It's like so cool to always feel like I have a window into, you know, that I feel like I can connect with her when I see her notes and what she's highlighting, and sometimes it feels like she's looking out for me because it'll be something that I really needed what she highlighted. So it's very cool. It's really.
And can I say on a side note, a very personal thing?
Mm-hmm.
When my mom waited for her to go. She went with us in the room, and she waited for Zoey to fly in to let go and go to the spirit world.
So I feel very, very close to her. So every time I do open these, but it's interesting. It really is. It does feel like she's like, oh, looking out for you.
Oh, I feel the same way about my grandmothers. We're both named after our grandmothers. I have a twin sister, Barbara, and I was named after my Grammy, Jenna. She was from West Texas, and she lived in the same. My mom's dad was a home builder. She lived in the house that he built until she had to go into a retirement community, and she never graduated from college, but both of my grandmothers loved to read, and for different reasons. I mean, they were very different people. And my grandmother, Jenna, had a subscription to National Geographic, and Barbara and I as little kids would like sneak into a gem collection. She loved the natural world, and taught us all the constellations in the sky. And we would flip through the pages of these magazines, and I realized later it was like all the places she wouldn't travel to but wanted to, and she was curious forever. But it's so interesting. I think grandparents play at least in my life, I'm so lucky to have had them until I was an adult, that they played such an important part in everything. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why I love to read.
Yeah, it is a blessing I didn't even ever meet my grandpas. You knew well, not my dad, but yeah, it's nice to have that continuity of life, to see that backward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are there, I'm going to let you guys go in a minute because I know you have other things to do for this awesome podcast, which I can't wait to listen to. But are there books, like if you were stranded on an island, and I sort of hate this question because I'm always like, what would I take? You could travel to one place and you had to take 1 or 2 books, 3 books with you that have meant everything. What would you take? It's a very dramatic question and very hypothetical.
I'm immediately like the encyclopedical problems.
Yeah. What?
Gotcha.
Yeah. What berries will kill me, and what berries.
I'm bad at this kind of thing. Because I was in Back to the Future, everyone's always like, "What time do you go to?" And I'm like, "Right now, there's penicillin and women can vote." I'm like,
by the way, I love that you just said, I was in the movie Back to the Future. I was like, yes, we know, we know. But you're right. That's a question you probably get a lot, where you're like, oh, no.
I might be useless with this one, but
I'm sorry. Me too.
What are yours?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, the book that changed me the most was Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. I studied it in high school, and I just got to, it was the 50th anniversary, which I just can't even believe. So books that I like to reread, which I think is like a more kind of normal question because hopefully we aren't getting stranded. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. And I got to talk with Oprah about it, who is a great reader, obviously, and was friends with Toni Morrison. And we got to have a book discussion on Zoom. And it was like the best, most fun to both have our marked up copies. And then afterwards she told me that she was going to reread all of Toni Morrison. So I was like, well, if Oprah's going to do that. So I spent my Christmas break rereading all of Toni Morrison and reading for the first time, at least one. And it was just like a fun study. Part of what I do, which is so fun, is this book club. And the whole idea is to promote diverse and debut authors. So I'm always reading forward. So to go back and study books that changed me as a young person I'm still young, but a really young person, was so much fun. So The Bluest Eye, a book that I love, that I hope you all will read, that one of the books that we've chosen, is called Nothing to See Here, by Kevin Wilson. It is the best. It's hilarious. It's I think one of the most profound books about parenting, about the love, that the unconditional love that parents have for their kids. I just loved it. And I'm like that. And see, I'm too, I'm not great at this.
And me an awesome list. I have now
Wait.
one, two, three, I have 5 books I have.
Somebody told me that the author of Olympia, Texas.
Oh yes. She's not, I tried to choose that book, to be totally honest, and I can't remember who sweeped in, if it was Reese or Good Morning America, but somebody sweeped in under me. But another really good one is called Valentine. She's a West Texas writer. She didn't publish the book until she was in her 50s. Her name's Elizabeth Wetmore. Valentine, Selma Hayek just purchased the rights for the movie. It is going to be, it's 5 women in West Texas and their perspective about like one tragic thing, and it is so, the characters, it's just so brilliant. You can't believe that this woman has never written anything before.
Did you read 3? Wait, what were you gonna say?
But Olympia, Texas, she picked Zoe and I to star in the movie, so I'm for
what
that.
do you mean?
Yeah,
What?
I sent you the thing. I guess she was on Good Morning America, and she said, "Oh, I'd like Leah Thompson and Zoey Deutch to star in the movie."
Why didn't you tell me that?
And
Have you read it? It's really beautiful. It was one that, you know, we're like kind of all in these book clubs. I mean, the beauty of it is that you want people to read and read widely and read things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise pick up. But that was one that I loved that got taken before I could even finish it.
Would we be good in it?
You would be brilliant. I mean, and by the way, the writer, it's a debut. She's incredible. I say yes. I say go ahead and call your agents. I don't know how it works, but call somebody.
I also have these. I bought these great books. They're the Anna Pigeon Mysteries, and I'm trying to make the movies of these. It's called Track of the Cat. They're old, but there's 19 of them.
Oh, fun!
At a bar, and they're all about the national parks, and everybody's into the national parks.
Yes.
So Nevada bar books are amazing. Like there's one even set in at the Statue of Liberty, and they're also, but this one's set in Texas. The one Track of the Cat.
Big Bend National Park.
No, it's oh gosh, I can't believe I can't remember where.
I can't remember, but it's somewhere.
But
no,
it's
right in the border, and it's what?
No, Big Bend. That is Big Bend, the Rio Grande National Park, Big Bend. No.
I'll remember it as soon as the pressure's off. I'll remember it.
Okay.
Remember it because I, do anyway. I sold it, and so hopefully we'll be making the movies for Universal.
Oh, great!
It's a woman park ranger in all different national parks. It's super cool.
But will that be a show, a television series, or a movie?
Series of movies.
Oh, great!
All different parks. So there's 19 books, and it's like a badass woman park ranger who solves these mysteries, and people love mysteries. I love mysteries.
I love mysteries. I mean, first of all, it kind of reminds me of Murder, She Wrote, which was my favorite show on television for a long period. Zoe might be a little young for Murder, She Wrote, but I loved that show.
But she's like always going against, everybody in the park, everybody who works at the national parks is like a little bit off, or like, just very strong personalities.
Yes.
So the list of suspects is really amazing. So I forgot I love those books. I read 19.
What do you have a favorite mystery? Can you think, I mean, maybe minus those, something else you loved that
mystery?
Yeah.
I'm really bad at things like this. I can't remember anything.
Well, by the way, neither can I. I mean, honestly, I'm like, I think I read that book. What happened? I mean, I'm the same way. So don't worry. But and I love mysteries so much, and I've yet to choose one. We've chosen 28 books because I love them so much that it's hard.
Read one of Nevada Bar's books. This one's
okay. I just wrote it down. Well, I want to thank you guys. Oh wait, no, the last question. Somebody sent this in for you, Zoe. As somebody who was in an adaptation of a YA book, which Before I Fall, I read because I was an English teacher before I took this job. What a strange transition. But I was teaching in Baltimore at a middle school. And so I read that book because some of my students were reading it and they loved it. And so I read it and I loved it. And so did you read that book? Did you read the book before you were in? I know it was a long time ago, but was that your first film? No.
No. But I've actually done 3 YA book to movie.
adaptation.
And with Before I Fall, I did read it thoroughly many times before. And
So beautiful, that movie.
It's a beautiful book.
Beautiful.
yeah, but the yeah, I did. It's interesting. It's so helpful to have because it's almost like an open diary. You have like the diary in a way, and then you also sort of have to like free yourself from the
Mm-hmm.
fears and restraints of like what people are gonna expect, because reading is so magical. Reading is so, you get to create your own world, and you just let go of that and let go of the fact that it's not going to be what everyone specifically imagined, and that's okay. So yeah, it's like it can be a challenge. I think a lot of avid readers are kind of get bummed almost when movies get made from books, but I was so excited to make that movie, and I'm really proud of it, and I love the book, and I have a copy of my face is on the book, and that's really cool. Right over
Wait, what were your other adaptations?
Beautiful Creatures and Vampire Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know, and it's hard because YA readers, they love the books.
With, oh my God, Vampire Academy was like, how could you cast Zoey? Her boobs aren't big enough. And it was like, whoa, okay. Like, meanwhile in the costume fittings, we're like, add another pad, never go to the movie if her boobs aren't big enough. And I was like, oh, I'm 18, dramatic.
Yeah, you were like, can people stop talking about my boobs, please?
Yes. I do not. It was all around pretty
hilarious.
Yeah,
and awkward.
But Before I Fall,
Such a
beautiful book, and really
beautiful
fun
film too. Well, thank you guys so much, and congratulations on this series, or this podcast rather. It is so much fun. We got to listen to a little bit. Total Switch Show, which is adult, because when our producer was talking to us about it, she was like, it's Freaky Friday. I was like, well, I listened to a little. It's not like I'm going to listen to it with my children, but it's so awesome. And I hope I'm going to send you guys some books. I'm going to try to get your info and send you some books. I'm going to send you. I'll put you on my list. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Leah. That was so much fun. Bye, everybody.